Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Worldviews. Today we have on Rebecca Bar-Sef. Rebecca is a geopolitical YouTube commentator discussing issues such as Israel tensions, the nature of Islam, and other global news. Rebecca, thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Of course. And Rebecca, I know before we hopped on officially, we were discussing Judaism and what it means to be an ethnic Jew versus religious Jew. So can you break that down more in detail for the audience? Because I am very ignorant of it myself as a Christian, and I know many of us out there are also very ignorant. So can you give us a
Actually,
detailed?
it's not as okay. So the framing is not exact. It's not ethnic Jew versus religious Jew. We don't have that distinction. Not really. I mean, so okay. So look at that this way. There is a to become a citizen of Israel, you can convert to Judaism. But it's true because even in ancient times, to become a Judean, you had to go through a citizenship process. You had to study the local customs, you had to go through mikveh, and you had to it was gradual. So if you look at it as a citizenry, like a citizenship process, like this is what you need to know to become part of the nation, then it's different. And then once you're part of the nation, you're part of the nation. Unless and even think about how hard it is to make people re-immigrate, like kick them out after they got the passport. It's basically the same with Judaism. It gonna take an extreme thing to do so that you'd get kicked out of your nationalized identity after you got in.
Okay, and I know I think you're probably the second or third person we've spoke to that is out of Israel. So you come from a town near Tel Aviv. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you tell us what it was like growing up in Israel, and how did that shape your understanding of global politics differently than if you had grown
So
up, say, elsewhere?
right. So I had my grandparents live in the United States. Now they live in Miami. They used to live in the suburbs of Chicago. So I had the very interesting experience of being asked about geopolitics when I was a child by random people. I remember, I think I was like at 10 years old when people asked me about what do I think about this war and that war? And I was like, maybe I should see what I think, I guess. Like maybe I should learn. And also, it's just very different in Israel. When you grow up, you have complete freedom. In the US, you have you had, for the most part, I had to ask my grandparents to take me somewhere, do something, because I couldn't go and walk just down the street. And here in Israel, we would the kids would start gathering outside. Just we have meeting spots, and we'd go there, and it wasn't, it was pretty early that I could walk around whatever hour, whenever hour, and it was complete, a lot more free. And it's a city here, okay? It's not like I live in a remote village with it's a city. So, but it's a completely different kind of upbringing. And
Yeah,
also the stories that we were told different, we were told stories of heroism and you know uh, I guess a lot more, a big, also when you learn about the Jewish tradition, you start, as in every generation they come, they try to annihilate us. And that's a sentence from the Haggadah, which we read every year. So the question starts, what do you mean? Who? What? Who? So you start hearing and you start getting exposed. And so it's a very, um, there is a very smart way in which the traditions bring you to understand more of human nature, because you every holiday is connected to a story, and those stories are not always easy. Even now, Purim, which starts tonight, Estelle had to basically do a lot of court politics So you hear that she had to go and be like selected from women to be with a king, so that she could like, and not a non-Jewish king, so that she could save her people. That's a very not right. It's not like your, oh, mom met dad and they fell in love story, which is like canonical. It's like you hear of a person that like she went ahead and basically married to save her people. So you have that heroism, and it's like you get complexity as well, because it goes against everything that you thought that is the right thing to do. It's like you mean a Jewish woman like marrying a non-Jew, which is like a taboo, but suddenly you have an entire holiday about around a woman who did just that. So you learn how to contextualize, how to understand like there are priorities as well, and when is the right thing to do what. There is a lot of conversation that it triggers, because you have a rule and you break it. You have a rule and something breaks it. You have a rule and something breaks it. It's like we grow up, you cannot eat pork, but then you read stories about kids surviving the Holocaust and they all had to eat pork. You have a rule and you have something that breaks it, and then you have a conversation.
Okay, then that's interesting because then what's, like, your favorite holiday to celebrate, would you say? 'Cause it's interesting because
Purim.
you Oh, is it? Okay.
It's the best holiday, and even the Rambam agrees. The Rambam said in the end of times, right when the days of the Messiah would come, all the holidays would be annulled except for Purim. Purim we have to celebrate.
Yeah, that's so interesting, though, when you're talking about how a lot of the growing up and you're learning more about the heritage and the history, you're kinda learning about the really hard stuff to where it seems like you guys are targets, and you learn that growing up. Is that kinda what you're saying?
Do we learn that we're targets?
Yeah, like, through history that people have focused on, I guess, attacks on Israel and the Jewish people, and you learn about that at an early age.
Um, I think what made us think that like that perception comes more from Holocaust thinking and framing, not necessarily our history. I think also because that's our story doesn't necessarily mean others had it nice and easy. So it's like there needs to think that you are specifically targeted, you need to have an assumption that others are not targeted, which is like something that like even when we learn about the Holocaust, we learned about the Armenian Holocaust as well beforehand. We hadn't learned about the Rwanda one, and and it's in Israel, right? And it's always like, okay, so is our story different, or is it that those who can target someone would target someone? And the thing is, it doesn't matter as far as we're concerned, as individuals or as a nation, in our perception, with that, which I think is a mistake. I think it's one of the things that were in our detriment, is that we were very concerned about like, okay, if that's part of like the way people work, then we need to know how to protect ourselves and preserve ourselves and like our heritage and how to pass it on, like resilience. But it is also makes it like a bit un it's a bit, and then but then when you try to understand like, but is our if our case is not unique, right, then how do we need to communicate with the world? And if our case is not unique, then why do we get so much attention? There's like two things that are like you always have to meditate. I don't know.
Yeah, and how
Bridge.
yes. How young are you when you learn about these really tough topics?
Oh, so if you, so that's the unique thing of having holidays. You hear those stories in every holiday. So it means that since you're 0 years old, you go through the motions of hearing those stories.
So
Because
that
every holiday you hear a story. It's like in Purim tonight you're supposed to read the scroll. And so you get like different versions of like how simplified the language is, but it's there.
in that case, then, because that's pretty. I'm just thinking about because growing up in America, big holidays, Christmas, stuff like that. I'm a child. Christmas is inherently good because it celebrates Jesus, and then as a kid, you kind of have more of a perception towards Santa Claus, and everything's really fuzzy. But for you, then,
So so one of my first when I met David Wood, for example, the question that I had to him, right? I was like, so what stories do you tell on Christmas? What kind of stories are you supposed to be telling? What is this like what is the story in Easter? And he looked at me like, stories? What do you mean? I was like, story. Something that is like comes with it, with a package, right? Something needs to come with a story, right? So where's the story? Yeah.
yeah, I mean, that's something you guys do better than us because, yeah, like I just mentioned, Easter is supposed to celebrate the resurrection, but the story given to the children is that catered with a bunny. Christmas, Jesus catered with Santa Claus. St. Patrick's Day doesn't particularly talk about St. Patrick despite the things that he actually did from his mission field, but it actually talks more about leprechauns and uh, more Irish themes that are catered towards what children would enjoy. A lot of these holidays, as I'm describing, are more towards kids. But my question was going to be because you mentioned the view on human nature early as a kid because you learn about these stories. You basically learn from zero, starting at 0 to 1 to 2 to 3, very early in life, that humans are at their worst extremely vile and evil.
Yes, but I don't think it's you understand it until you start seeing it yourself.
When did you first see it?
I mean, some things I saw 9/11. I remember seeing that. I was like, what makes someone do that? It's insanity. But that still feels far away. You know when you really see it when it's personal. This is when you start really understanding human nature. When you are with someone and they betray you or whatever. I don't want to say like necessarily cheat, but let's say you're typical and they abandon you and you are it's threatening for you. And you start seeing it more and more. And I think the um for a lot of Israelis that it was it really came to be on October 7th. I saw with my own eyes girls there who it was an international dance group. One of the girls was taken hostage into Gaza, was kidnapped, and the other girls had absolutely no empathy. And they were dancing together in an international dance group. And that's when you see that, this is when you truly understand. Until then, you don't. Until then, everything is like builds you up, builds you up. It's like you see 9/11. It's like still far. You get personal betrayals, still far because it's not in the same realm. And then you see like the people who like, your friend was taken hostage, and their reaction was like so. It's like it's them, it's the extreme. So that's when most Israelis were like, ah, that's what they're talking about. And a lot of Israelis suddenly were like, so all those stories, they make sense now. It's like it's everything like floods back and it's like sets into place and you're like, it all makes sense now. Now it makes sense. Now we get it. Okay. It's real. Those things are real.
Wow. Then, yeah, so October 7th was the trigger for all the stories you grew up, for them to come into true fruition in those moments.
Yes, because at that moment it didn't feel like stories anymore. It felt like you are in that story. Because it didn't feel like something that like suddenly you you have like the story like a man, but there was like this woman, I'm sorry, Shakdam something, I forgot her name. I have her number, but she infiltrated the Ayatollah regime, a Jewish woman. She infiltrated the Ayatollah regime. Um, as a reporter, not as a wife or anything, but suddenly it's like, wow, those stories, like they're alive, you know, they're alive.
Yeah, where were you on October 7th?
I was in Peru. I was in Peru. I was in Cusco. I was on the top of a mountain.
Okay. So you were on, like, was this like a vacation type of thing?
Yeah, I was like a year traveling.
Okay, so then when it happened, 'cause I assume, I mean, despite the fact that you're in Peru, you still, I imagine, had a lot of fear because you have family members that are in Israel.
Oh, it wasn't fear. Fear was not one of them. Actually. I don't think fear was. I guess some of it was fear, but it was so many. It was mixed feelings. It was It was relief. It was it was relief because I thought it'd be worse when the October's like we can see now, right? With everything with Iran, it's everything. Like I knew. I first of all I knew from the start that it's big, that it's different this time. Like I knew from the very first moments. I was in Peru and I was like, my friend was like, "Isn't it something that happens all the time in Israel?" I said, "No, this time is different. This time is big. It's something big. I have a feeling." And it was big. And then it was I had a like, you know, the hunch of like, but then when it was clearing up, when the realization where that Hezbollah didn't manage to enter, that Iran didn't send like didn't manage to enter, that it was happen that it, instead of that being like everybody, all the guns prepared and ready to go, it would happen like linear, and now we can dismantle everything. It was a huge relief, but it's like also like this sadness. The feeling is like it's unfair and it's tragic, and also was crying because of what I knew we would have to do. It's like crying for the loss of innocence as well, and the loss of the understanding that there are the Gazans, Hamas, whatever version of it you want. We don't have the means of fixing whatever they're suffering from. And I was also crying for them because it's tragic. Like to grow up in an environment that screws you so much, screws your mind so much. It's tragedy. And it's like that crying for the tragic setup that made them that, and then the tragic situation of okay, judgment and what needs to be done is but then the more you go through it, you know, the more you see things click.
Are there any, I'd be curious if you have any thoughts on this. Is there anything about that day or days after that never really showed up in the news, but still stayed with you?
Never showed up in the news. Honestly, I didn't care for the news that much. So I cannot say that or tell you that necessarily. Or was it that it wasn't in the news? So, but there are a lot of things that's like, it's the finding Israelis finding each other. The whole trip, I was like, I was not with Israelis. Suddenly, I was like, okay, where are they? Maybe they are necessary. And they're like, which is also true. There are very specific occasions where I was like, okay, I need Israelis around me. And one of them was like when you go on the mountains. I knew I wanted Israelis around me. Israelis don't leave you alone in a mountain. I learned the hard way that other nations do. Like they wouldn't, like they, and I noticed like other nations noticed that as well because I saw a lot of people who would look for Israeli guys that would walk with them so that they would feel safer. So I remember like on the last day when I was going up, there was one girl like that, and I was like, "Oh, you guys are walking together?" And I was like, "Walking on, can I join you?" And she was like, "No, he's mine. Go away." And the guy was Israeli and she was not. And I was like, "What?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm sorry. She walks slowly and she is afraid, so she asked me to walk with her." So I was like, "Okay, fine." I just went ahead. But it's like it's apparently a niche that Israelis feel, and it's something that shocked me. So when I was feeling more insecure about me being able to complete a track, or if something felt like it's a bit hard, I like if there was an Israeli around, it's like, phew, thank goodness. Because I learned the hard way that you don't want to track when you don't feel like when there are no Israelis around, it's scarier. Um, and the So that was the only other time where I felt like, okay, where are the Israelis at? All the other time, because most of the time it's like, these people, they make a lot of noise and take a lot of space and room. And it's like I'm trying to get to know the locals, and they a lot of times they are like tend to be with each other and stuff like that. So I was like, nah. But then on October 7th, I was like, okay, let's go find the Israelis again.
Oh, how long were you away during that time?
A
You
year.
said you're on, like, a year vacation, but was that did it, like, just start, or were you months for
No, no,
coming
no.
back?
It was a year into traveling. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Hmm.
Interesting. Yeah, I could see that being kinda a little tense. Well, I guess, what are your views on it now, I suppose? Not on October 7th specifically, but just the whole tensions between, uh, the Strip, all that with Israel.
What are my intentions?
Yeah, I guess, what are your views on the current conflict as it stands today?
I mean, now it's like optimism. Now it's like, okay, we can. It's like, it's a joke, but when the war with Iran started now, there was this, okay, guys, war started, we can finally relax. And before October 7th, the situation in Israel was a situation of I didn't want to be in the country. It was something was coming. I it was the uncertainty, the unknown that is the worst. And the feeling of like the fracturing because there was all those um protests and everything like that. Really, really like every week, everywhere. It's like those like the super annoying noises of like people were like but I voted for this, like most of the population voted for this, and so what are you trying to do? It's not even a conversation. um so it was and it was clear that something I was in intelligence anyway in the army service. It was clear that something's gonna happen. Um, it's also in the Quranic, you know, book of when to attack. It's like they have the formula. First they have to like you have the when you get the fences, that's stage 1, enclave stage 2, and then when they are fighting with each other, that's when you go.
I'm sorry, did you call it the book of when to attack?
Oh yeah, Quran. Yeah.
I guess we can also talk about that too, because you have
No,
a few videos.
Quran is a lot more smart than people understand it is. I made a video in the beginning saying the greatness of the Quran. I said there are two types of people who read the Quran. The 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 Muslims who are the well, the less smart people, and then there are I call them Muhammadans, those who get it. I said like this is not a religion. This is a how-to book. How to how to conquer, how to do whatever you want. That's the
Yeah, when did you start, I guess, reading the Quran?
I mean, really intently after October 7th. Until then, I was like, ugh, I wasn't that interested. But after October 7th, I was like, their method works. Right. So here's the thing. I didn't know much about Islam, but you can see because there are Muslims everywhere here. And you look at the woman, they kind of look miserable. I was like, that's not a good sign. And you see like they blow up randomly. It's like, to me, for a lot of Israelis, like it's basically what you need to know. It's like the women don't seem to be too free or happy, and they blow themselves up randomly. So I don't know. It's not for me. Um, then the reason I actually started being interested is because I realized that whatever they do, it works. It works. And as a person who appreciates science, I'm like, if it works, you have to study it and understand it, and also like get inspired to like learn some, learn something. Yeah.
Okay. Why do you think it works? Like, what's your 'cause I am very fascinated by Islam because obviously it's literally
I
2
think it's
billion people
genius.
believe.
And I also had this conversation with Mordechai Kedar for like an hour. He is a very famous researcher here in Israel. We were driving together, and my car was going bust, so we were having a lot of time in the road. So to talk about everything. So he knows all those theories about Quran and everything. And I told him like, here's my theory, right? Here's what I said. And he said like, what you're saying, there are actually a lot of clues in the Quran that indicate that what you're saying is true. So here's what I said to him. There are what makes the Quran very special, and also it's the one of the mottos of the Muslim Brotherhood, is the patience is like the patience is like success is with those who have patience or something like the I just forgot. Oh my God, that's embarrassing. But basically, patience. Have patience. Have patience. Those who have patience would get everything. So I think that it's a combination of two mechanisms. That like there is one mechanism that was hacked, and and they did it by actually practicing something that doesn't usually come with something else. So the mechanism that was hacked is the fact that we must accept strangers at some point. Like no matter how much humans would say stranger danger, in the end of the day, we have installed within us a mechanism to accept strangers because we need to expand our genetic. It's a survival mechanism, and there are plenty of writings of people like Russian writings, stuff like that. People who went into remote villages, remote places where people were um, like nomads, And he said like every time he came and to a tribe, and they saw a lone male, a lone man walking. He said it was like they found a treasure, because they immediately said like, I would get invited by the head of the tribe. There would be a set of like, choose one of my daughters to be your wife, stay with us, because because the genetic thing is critical, right? It's like, so in ancient times, like the nomadic life, it's like you find the lone male walking around, you want him inside your family because to diversify your gene pool. And humans have that in them, embedded in them. We need to diversify our gene pools. Like it's just something that we need for survival. We can't just stay within the tribe. So we have a very strong stranger is danger kind of mechanism in theory, but in reality we have to accept strangers because we need them. And but what happens is that most of the time it doesn't take too long for a person to know if a stranger is a danger or not. And what would actually like, so what would happen is like they would come, loot, and go, right? They would come, and they would come, get invited to the house. In the Talmud, there is like a story, right? What happens if you find a stranger? You must invite them to the house, but you put them in the attic and you take away the stairs, like because you at night, right? Because you want to also defend the household. So like you must host, but also be suspicious of them. So the mechanism that was introduced in the Quran and in general is a mechanism of, it's gonna get decades until you activate your actual intention. So Muhammad moved to what was it? Muhammad moved to Mecca, Medina. Which one was it? I think he moved from Medina to Mecca. Anyway, he moved and he lived with the locals for for a long time, right? He got accepted, part of the people, like loved. He helped the different pagan tribes uh, reconciliate when they had disputes. It was uh, instead of going to the Jews, they went also to Muhammad so that he would help them. And he also took a lot of the Jewish customs. So what are the other part that they did, which is interesting, right? So what the Muslims do is that they had taken all the what looks Jewish, but without what is Jewish. So don't eat pork, wash your hands, wash your feet. Took all the ceremonial and the hygiene, like some, like not all of the hygienic parts, but like a lot of the hygienic. Look at me, I'm washing hands, right? Everything that is like public. Look at me, I'm washing it. Like the Jews wash hands all the time. Like, look at me, I'm washing hands. Look at me, I'm washing. Or look at me, like it's I'm not eating. Oh, you're not me. I'm not eating. Okay, so it's like it looks like in a way it's like you come to a place and you start outwardly display that you had accepted their customs, and you also like. But here's the thing: why usually the people that want to come, they settle, maybe a month at most, they loot and they go. It's like, no, this is gonna the patience with the ally with those with the believers who have patience, right? So for decades they can be and live among your midst, be more the most accepting, loving, generous, look outwardly like they accept some of your customs and then take over. That's the mechanism that the Quran had hacked.
Mm.
Yeah,
Wow. Yeah, the deception of generous curiosity and then deceiving a
it's
civilization.
the the basic mechanism of like, okay, stranger danger, but we have must accept strangers in a tribe, right? To how do you become part of the tribe and then take over the tribe?
Yeah, stranger danger, but the danger comes for the stranger later.
Like, yeah. So just like stranger danger, but strangers are important for survivability genetically. It's like if, like I'm telling you, there are like plenty of writings, like Russian travelers. A lone male, I'm not talking about a woman, right? A male, they see a male and they want to, like, it's a treasure for them because it's like, oh my God, here, whatever, take whatever wife, whoever, the one of my daughters, just come and live with us because, like, of genetics, like diversifying genetics. So, so there's this, but like, the other thing, it's like the danger part, right? You have to remove anything that indicates danger. And what they had perfected religious, like like in that Quranic book is like the how long as it takes, how long as it takes. Let it be years, let it be months, let it be years, let it be decades, let it be centuries, centuries as well. And if you track history, it also centuries.
Have you been to a mosque before?
Yes, of course.
What was your experience like there?
What do you mean?
Because I've
So
uh, go ahead.
we are, because okay, so here's that, like, we're Jewish, we're not gonna pray. It's very unacceptable to pray. So when we went, if you go to mosques, you just go to a mosque to see it, like architecture and the inside, not to participate in like prayer or anything. Because I saw like a lot of videos from Europe of kids doing that. Jews going to pray somewhere. It's like,
Wow, I know so entwined like that because most of my from a Christian perspective, I suppose, and I've been to a mosque twice for just observing,
yeah.
and Mm, I'm one of many or very few Christians that would do that. I just
Hmm.
did it out of curiosity reasons, but no one ever would go to a mosque for any reason, even if it was an invitation, I feel like. There's this kind of weird divide. And I was also asking too, because I was also very curious of how Islam is within different countries versus over in America. Because I think American Islam, like, in my opinion, which I think is true, is extremely different than Islam everywhere else in the
No,
world.
it's not. It's just the English part. Just look, hear the Arabic, and then it's gonna be the same.
Oh, you think so?
Oh, 100. What Mamdani said, for example, classic Islam, classic Islam. And he activated, you saw so did you hear the Mamdani speech about the strangers? Oh, you should watch it. Because he literally, I was like, oh, Mamdani, oh, you're literally like, so blessed are the strangers, right? We were all strangers. It's like, oh, that's activating the stranger part of the Quran, 100%.
Oh, wow.
And then, and everybody else, like all the Israelis, the Jews were like, but continue the story. Just keep reading. Keep reading what happens later, people. Keep reading. Like, why do you stop in the middle?
Wow. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's fascinating. Yeah, I don't know what's gonna happen. I think at this point with Islam, because the internet, I think I mean, I don't think. It's obviously a thing where Islam's being attacked a lot more because of the internet, because you're David Woods, because you're apostate prophets, because of your Adam seekers of the world. Or a big one's always the ones that are former Muslims that are now picking up Christian apologetics and debating Muslims on Islam. That's
Hmm.
becoming more of a thing now, and it's kind of poking holes in the religion much more now. So I would like to think, in an optimistic way, that would be less. Islam's going kind of is decreasing on the decline, but I don't know if that's necessarily true because the numbers don't back that up at all. It seems.
It's, you also need to, separate the psychological part and the religious part. If you are growing up in an environment where taking over is the most important value that you learn, right? Like in Muslim culture, then that tendency would show up. You don't have to attach the religion to it. Quran, Hadith, they give you the exact way of doing that and how to deceive people. Amazingly well. Beautifully. Beautifully. They're experts. They really do know. It's not stupid. Here's like, if you underestimate how smart the mechanism is, you would not understand it. If you overestimate the religiosity part versus the mechanical motion by motion part, which doesn't look like it's religious, but it's the programming that is embedded within, then you're gonna miss it.
That's terrifying.
Yeah, you should be. It is terrifying. They got 56 countries for a reason. And nobody thinks that this religion is good. It's bullshit. Not even the adherents of the first adherents of those religions thought it was any good.
Yeah.
But it works. It works.
So do you believe as the future proceeds that it's going to be more people are going to join or convert or I guess stay in it?
It's not, like I said, it's the mechanism that you need to watch out for. And the only way to fight mechanism is to install a different mechanism. And right now, what we have in education systems is a blank slate. No mechanism is being installed. And they are working actively to install their mechanism. So yeah, it's bad. It's bad because it's not going to look like Islam per se. People might not even recognize it's Islam. It's just going to be the same mechanism of same motions, same programming, same. This is what you do first. This is what you do second. If you strip away the dress up being the religious part, like being the costumes.
Jeez. I'll have to pray on that one later. But I also wanted to, on a lighter note, I wanted to hear about your experience reading about the Gospels.
So here's the thing. I loved it. And I really did thought it was nice. And I'm just explaining like how it reads from a Jewish perspective and culture. But then I didn't real like I just don't see why it would take away anything from Christianity. But a lot of the comments I got were very much, to me they felt like insecure. It's like, oh, can't you see that it's demons? The demons are real. I'm talking from a Jewish culture and perspective. You cannot insert elements that you believe in into our culture and say that this is the truth. Because from a cultural perspective, it's not true. It can't be. Like, and I said, like, you talk about like Jesus performing miracles. But from a Jewish perspective, just because somebody performs miracles, it doesn't say anything about that. So what? Like, miracles are not anything. So why would you read it this way if there is a more interesting way of reading it, which to me was like it makes Jesus look even more sophisticated and capable and like impressive. By they've taken the miracles away, it makes him more impressive. And then the slack I was getting. And the funny thing is, like, I have a friend who like he said, I watched your videos and I was laughing, and I was like, what do you mean? He said, like, I used to be Christian, and I was like, what? And he said, yeah. And when and I was laughing because I understood exactly what you were feeling when you read it, but like when I was Christian and before I was exposed to like Jewish thinking, I didn't like I understand exactly where like the gap is, and it says like it's like it's really hard to bridge. And I was like, okay, so what do I do? It's because to me, I was like, if he doesn't do miracles, why would you think it's not? It means that he's not like whatever you believe he is, right? He can be a god, a son of like. Why does it? Why who? To me, it's like, who are you to even say what a god decides to do or not? Like, why do you think like why would you be so? Why would you like insist on this is what a god's supposed to be doing? Who are you to say what a god is supposed to be doing? It's so weird to me, like the entire like thing over like the miracle thinking and a lot of other things. And to me, what hurt me the most, like what made me like, and he said like, I'm because I'm gonna say something I didn't say in my channel, but when my friend who used to be Christian, I actually I need to ask him the whole story. What is like? Does it mean he converted to Judaism? Like, what does it mean he used to be? Anyway, whatever. I'll ask him. I don't. I didn't ask him. I should have. Exactly what the story is. But he said like, when I saw your video, I knew what you were trying to say and you weren't. Because there was this video that like I was crying. He said, I know why you were crying. You were crying because you were crying because you saw the genius of Jesus and you felt like the Christians don't. And that is something that you see right from the start as when you read the Gospels as a Jew. And he was like, I knew, and I was like, I knew you didn't say it. You didn't say anything. I know that they wouldn't understand that this is also something you were crying about, the tragedy of it, and from your perspective. But to me, I was reading and it's like, what have they done? What have you done? Like, this person, this like from a Jewish perspective, you are disrespecting him because he really did show how to do a lot of things correctly and properly. And by reducing that to demons and miracles, you are taking away the path he was trying to show you. And to me, I was like, this was when I realized that there is an image and there is like that like the symbolism and imagery parts of Judaism are not very strong. But to me, I was like, okay, so what I saw it is like there, and then I made a poll, right? So, and I especially understood it when Charlie Kirk died. When suddenly the image of Charlie Kirk was more important of like than what he actually believed in. And I saw like Ben Shapiro defending, and Jews are defending what Charlie Kirk actually believed in for the most part, and a couple of Christians. But then the rest just defending his image, just his glorifying his image. Like, and I also made like a poll, right? It's like, what is the best way to honor someone? It's like making a statue of him, um, naming an institute after him, and or uh, like living by his teachings. And then I was interesting to me because I realized like, okay, most like all Jews were like, if you want to honor someone, you live by the way what is just the teachings, right? You follow them. But most non-Jews were like, like the image is more important, right? The name.
Really? They said that's so do you remember the poll results exactly, like, what the
I
ratios
can
were
check
there?
it, but like I can check it. Most of my followers, I think, even the non-Jews, like there were a lot of said like the path, but I also think that it's slanted because of me being me. But
'Cause I would imagine. 'Cause I was thinking that to me, I thought that would be overwhelmingly live by his teachings would win that,
no,
like
it's not. So
95%.
this is the tragedy. Like, so what I saw later, and also a lot of religious Jews who said, we read the Gospels and we cried because Jesus doesn't deserve it. Like, that's the feeling. It's like he deserves more. And it's so hard because, and as far as Christians concerned, like, you cannot respect him more than what Christianity does, right? Like, how can you respect him more? But from a Jewish perspective, you're insulting him and he deserves respect. And like from a Jewish perspective, like because he reads and feels so Jewish, it feels like he would have, like it feels to us that he would have felt the way we do. and it's like in many ways, it's like maybe like we like trying to reclaim him as well. It's like it's a bit hard. It's especially like, okay, you get to know, understand the tragedy, but then it's I realize like talking about it, it's like it gets you burnt because it's like the culture is so different. It's like you guys are not like it's like the I cannot explain, like I so explain to my friends, like right, so all the Jews get it. It's like, oh my God, Jesus deserves way better. Why are they not respecting him? And can you imagine like going to Christians and telling them you are not respecting Jesus? As far as Jews are concerned, like you are not respecting him. You are hurt. Like it's to us like a lot. And I heard as like apparently I'm not the only person who cried about it because it's so apparent to us that we actually cry for the tragedy of it. Does it sound crazy to you? I don't know, but it's like it's how it feels. And it's not about like the resurrection part. It's not about like him being a god or not being a god. Like just for the record, Jews don't even think it matters too much.
Really?
Yeah,
Why is that? Why would that not matter whether or not he was a god?
because to a Jew, the question is, what does it mean? Oh, what does it mean for me, right? And whether or not he's a god or not doesn't if it doesn't change the way your behavior should be. Because it's
Okay.
not, again, we don't like this, as I said, like it's not a belief system. Like God in the Bible never asked for a Jews to believe in him. It doesn't, it's not a requirement. God doesn't ask that. Ask, God asks to follow the law, to do the right thing, never to, it never cares about its own image. You cannot even have an image of God because God doesn't care about its image. So you don't have to like believe in God. You have to follow the law. This is the trust. Just trust it, right? This is what you do. So so when you start asking like what Jesus is, it's like you're creating images, and that means like you are not actually trying to understand like what's it is that you're supposed to be doing. Other than it's like going against the imagery part. It's like a lot of Jews would accept it that fine, okay, so a lot of non-Jews needed Jesus to be a God for them to follow Jesus. They would accept it, right? For most Jews, it's like, it doesn't matter. Fine, God, not God. Like, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. This is how different the thinking is. But I like, we can like easily accept it. And this is why for a lot of Jews, like, until they start literally talking to Christians and trying to talk about Jesus, that it's only then, and I saw it in videos, that they Jews understand like, oh, we thought we were similar, but we are so different. That's like the thing. It's like this is the realization. Like we thought we were similar because in a Jewish mind, right, it doesn't matter too much if Jesus what Jesus is, as long as like it's like Jesus, you read it, it's like a good Jew, fine, perfect, okay, everything's good. So we're not different because because from a Jewish perspective there is no different. And
Yeah. Yeah. That's kind of what I learned from talking to Rabbi Manis because I asked him about his thoughts on the resurrection and about Jesus in general, and he was totally fine to accept Jesus being born of a virgin, doing miracles, anything supernatural, but it was almost like it didn't even matter. It
it
was
doesn't
irrelevant or
matter.
not.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It's like this is like it does because it's imagery. Follow Jesus, but actually try to understand him. Like this is where the tragedy is. It's like when you're like, do they even try to understand what he did? Because like he did miracles, but it's miracles that you can actually follow. You can actually do them if you try to learn from him. If you understand like that he was a genius, like that showed empathy in a world that needed it. And the way he did it was absolutely genius.
That's so fascinating. That's like It's so hard because I'm trying to get in your head about it, but I know I can't because it's just such a different way of thinking that you guys have.
Exactly, yeah.
Because even if I was from, because I'm thinking like if you read about this, since you read about this and you're reading about Jesus, exorcising demons, you're probably like, I'd be blown away by that reading that for the first time, thinking this is true. This really happened. This is super important. That not only that he did this and claimed to be God, but also the fact that doesn't that suggest that there's demons among us now? Is it this kind of supernatural realm sort of thing? And isn't that kind of almost evidential towards a Christianity? To me, that's how I would. I mean, I'm obviously biased because I'm a Christian, trying to read, trying to get in your head from a Christian perspective. But
No,
those
it's not.
readings
It's
in
not.
the gospel would blow my mind and say that there's nothing more important than this right now.
What
If what
is
I'm
more
reading is truly
important?
true, I would say there's something more important than if what I'm reading is true in the Gospels, if the
Yeah.
resurrection truly happened, if Jesus died, rose from the dead for everyone's sins, and he's asking people to follow him for the sake of their salvation. In my head, there would be I mean, obviously in my head, there's nothing more important than that message ever in the history of the world than God trying to maintain unity with his creation through the person of Jesus.
Yeah, but that
And
doesn't,
then
yeah, but that doesn't make sense. Like, doesn't make sense to Jews. It's like, so you celebrate his birthday and his death? That's what you do, like to follow Jesus? It's like, what?
yeah, and I think Jews view Christians as like
And
this level of every Christian's lukewarm with their faith, that they only do a celebration as ways of honoring Jesus. But and to a degree, you're right. Some Christians are like that. There are lukewarm Christians that treat Christianity as a 2 times a year thing, Easter,
no,
Christmas.
no, it's
But
not
there is
about
a
that. Because just like
okay.
the, you, okay, because so you pray to God through Jesus, something like what is Jesus? Like what just like how Jesus affects your life?
How does Jesus affect my life? Well, I think Jesus affects my life because he is the human example of how to conduct yourself in the world.
Right. So how do you
And
conduct? But then here's the thing, right? So why Jews think? So it's not all Jews because most Jews don't bother learning, but those who do, right? And religious, like when they do, it's like, okay, so if that's what the important, so why aren't Christians talking about what is the right way to conduct yourself? If you felt like through the way Jesus conducted himself, why isn't that the entire conversation that Christians have with each other? Because it doesn't feel like it is. It feels like you there is so much more talks about like what is the meaning of a Trinity and what's like demons demons or miracles are. It's like so much not and barely any of what is it like if you want to conduct yourself the way Jesus did. Like what does it mean? Like where's the conversation on it?
no, I can see where you're coming from with that because I think if this is
It's like if you truly want to conduct like do what Jesus wants, like what Jesus uh or follow the path like Jesus walked through, whatever, right? Then wouldn't like then Jews would expect that like if you are really serious about it, that there is gonna be like discussions of what uh, like what exactly it means. Where
yeah,
where
and
are those discussions?
I think there are a lot of those discussions too. I think because I mean, from a Christian perspective, we have discussions with because there's so many topics within the Bible itself that a lot of Christians like to go towards. I mean, we all go to Jesus most of the time, at least the Christians I'm around.
Mhm.
But then there's the teachings of Paul as well, and then I'm teaching kids
And by the
currently
way,
on
I think
Sunday.
here's the other thing. If you ask a Jew, they would say like Jesus and Paul would hate each other.
Really?
Yes, they would
How come?
hate each other with passion.
Okay, can you break that down?
So, so here's my theory. That that I think so. What Jesus did was miraculous, and we can go into what exactly he did and why it was so amazing. But here's like, which is so sad to me that like, ugh, just like you don't even like Christians, you don't even understand why Jesus is so amazing. That's what that's what the feeling I get. But anyway, um, And then, but here's the thing, right? So then people started copying him, but they didn't understand what they were doing. And Jesus became like a brand name. So it's a little bit like the way I like what made it click to me is the Charlie Kirk death. So that people started like, oh yeah, I follow Charlie Kirk, and then they would not at all understand what Charlie Kirk tried to do in the world, right? But they like, but it's a brand name. So it's like, and so as far as like, so what as and that's my personal theory, like when I was reading, like what made sense to me, and the reason I reached that theory was because of Charlie Kirk's situation, that I was like, oh, because to me it was like the thing that like closed the loop for me. I was like, oh, now I get it. Okay, so maybe that's what happened. So Jesus did do miracles, but like not magical miracles, but actual miracles, like real life miracles that could be replicated in theory, if you're talented and tried hard enough to understand what he did. But the but a lot of people around him didn't fully grasp like what he was doing. So they cheapened his arts, and I think that the way that they went around is like, okay, I was Jesus's disciple, so I can do what Jesus did, and here's like it's a brand name. So then it started multiplying. And when it reached Paul in Tartus, right, where he was in Turkey, all he knew is that Jesus is a brand name, but I think he knew nothing of Jesus. And I think this is where he started this activity as somebody who uses the imagery and brand name of Jesus without knowing Jesus. That's Paul. So he is the like he is like the following like giving an institution the name and building a statue, but not following the path. And then I think that what happened is because it started happening, it was Mark that gathered the real stories about Jesus, because Mark is the most Jewish gospel. And you can hear it like the Rushness, like, I need people to know who Jesus really was. Before the real Jesus fades away, I need to write down who Jesus actually was.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So
I
that's my theory.
yeah, sure, sure.
And, like, that's how I read it. I'm like, okay, because like and this is a lot of like the feeling to Jews. I never like every Jew that I saw reading, and it's like if there's something we all agree on is that Jesus would have hated Paul and vice versa.
Man, that's interesting. You saying that makes me feel like there needs to just be more, I guess, Christian and Jew discussions and not I mean, I think there's more now than ever probably maybe because of YouTube and stuff for the sake of people wanting content and curiosity on that. But I just had no idea that was the view from you guys
Oh yeah,
this whole time.
Paul. So here's the thing: is like Paul is really disliked in Jewish tradition, and the truth is that Jesus is not disliked in Jewish tradition. But but I have to say that because I do YouTube to this aimed to a non-Jewish audience, that I understand Paul more now as well. In the end of the day, the Jewish way just doesn't communicate. Like Jesus, just like this is the tragedy that Jews cry on every time, like cry about, because when they read Jesus, they will like, it's a tragic, like the tragedy is like, oh no, the Christians don't get what Jesus is, was trying to do. Or like how, what, don't, like the funny part is like, you guys don't even understand how much of a miraculous person he was, like how many miracles he actually did. You don't understand the miracles, like how big they were. And the understanding also that maybe it's too difficult to understand because it requires too much work, and work does not sell well.
Okay, I don't know. I just feel like generalize that kind of generalization though is tough because it's like if you say that you say that for 2 billion Christians. That's the generalization. That's a lot of people.
I'm not, I don't think it's true. Like, to an extent it is true. And the reason Jews know that is because we see what is missing. we see like this is why I started doing this series where like there is an entire Jewish layer that is missing. And the thing is that the Jews see it clearly because they see what's missing. And then when you search for where's that missing layer, you realize that it's it takes away the power from the church. So if you introduce the Jewish layer, like what the Jews why Jews think like you like the actual miraculous part as far as we're concerned about Jesus. Once you introduce that layer, it takes away the power from the church. That's a problem, and not just from the church, from most pastors, because every church, no matter if it's Catholic or not Catholic, is built upon the notion of just have faith. And there is some like just you come and you do and basically like because it reads so weirdly as well, because like I did the story right where when with the Canaanite woman, I was like, oh, I came for the children of Israel. And then I explained that it was actually a test to see if she thinks like a Jew or not Jew. Like, because when I saw it, like, it's funny because I read the stories to Jews and then I said like, why he was trying to do there? And they were like, I don't know. And it's funny because a lot of time Jews forget Jesus was a Jew. And I said, think like a Jew. And then they were like, oh, he was testing her thinking. He was testing her thinking and she passed because she answered like a Jew. Um, so it's like, okay, once you think of Jesus as a Jew and like you apply that, and then I saw like the click is like if Israelis, right? Going like, oh, actually, if it was me, then that story suddenly makes sense. Like, it's not like he was trying to insult her. And I had like an entire explanation. So because it's two different things. First of all, like it's the way you build a hierarchy in your brain that is different. If you build hierarchy like Jew, then you have circles of responsibility, and you have because of but if you have a Roman style thinking, then it's hierarchy, that is pyramid. It's not circular. So when Jesus was like, "I'm coming for the children of Israel," and like so I cannot feed the dog what is meant for the kids. It was, if you still look at it from a Jewish perspective, as circles of responsibilities, like, okay, you as a parent are first of all responsible for your children, but it's not insulting because I said like, here's the difference, right? Because let's change the perspective. Let's say there's a dog and pups, right? So let's say the house was burning. If you think in circle, like who's the dog, whose kids they're supposed to save first, their own pups or the kids of the house? Because if you think that the dogs are supposed to save the kids of the house, you think like a Roman hierarchy, right? The dog is always beneath the children. If you think like a Jew, you think of circles of responsibility. It makes sense that the dog is first of all responsible for their own pups. So they would save the pups, not the children.
Okay, that makes more sense then, because
And then,
okay, go ahead.
and then that's just one element of it, of understanding like what was the test there, like what was the actual structure of the sentence, like what does the parable mean. So that's one. It's like the difference between hierarchy structures. It reads very differently. And the second is that like then there is the context, and then there's the fact that like he gave an example of a household and the way it's managed. And if you take it personally, as in you're being called a dog, that's also part of the test. It's like a volatility check. Because like if you like think like a Jew, it's like it's not like a dog is a respectable creature, and like every life, like whatever, it's just like in that, if you think about circles of responsibility, then there is no, oh, you are under, right? There is no thinking of like, I'm beneath the children. There is a thinking of, okay, there is circles of responsibility. It's not like you're beneath. It's just like from his circles, it's like you're an more outer layer in the circle.
No, that makes sense. Yeah, that's a fascinating. I didn't know that was more of a Jewish perspective of
But
things.
then the thing that Matthew adds, which is like Matthew is the guy that takes the stories and adds like and changes it in a way that makes, from a Jewish perspective, makes Jesus a total jerk, but it tries to mitigate the difference between why does Jesus behave like something that's perceived as being a total douchebag in Roman culture, and then it's like, oh, she had, the woman suddenly was the one that was supposed to prove her faith, right? Or like devotion is like, you can call me a dog, you can treat me like shit, whatever, I believe in you, Jesus. Where in Jewish perspective is like, what kind of God would treat this stuff just like shit? What doesn't make even sense? Any sense? Obviously, he was trying to test her merit. He was trying to test like if she's volatile. He was trying to test whether she is like what kind of person she is, like, and what ways is what are the ways she's thinking. And when she answered in a smart way, the Mark version says like, you answered well, and the Jews are like, yes, she answered amazingly well. Like she would get accepted to Jewish circles even without converting because she answered like a Jew, like a Jew. So
Okay, I'll have to think
and
about
then
that.
it's like, why would you want to humiliate yourself?
Yeah.
Like like, and then there is like the rule of thumbs, is it a Jew who thinks or is it a Christian? So humility versus modesty, right? It's faith versus trust. It is like, because in like, why would he try to humiliate? Not trying to humiliate her. It's like it's a weird thing to like just have faith, just like believe, and then it's like and the reason I said like it would take power from pastors and churches, because suddenly like, what, like, do you mean like you suddenly like, first of all, like God would not treat you with no respect, no matter who you are. Doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter if you're a woman or a man. God would treat with respect and answer you properly and never dismiss you.
Okay. Well, speaking of that, because we always ask on the show, one question you'd ask God if you knew he would answer right away. What would you ask God?
I mean, I would just be like, I accept it. Like, I appreciate the challenge. I accept it. I love it. But couldn't you just make it a bit easier? Just like a tiny bit?
Yeah, that's pretty common question. Uh,
Is it every Jew answers that? Like,
well, I have to ask more Jews that question. I would. I mean, maybe that would be a more common one. I mean, that's just, like, I think, a more common one amongst humans, 'cause
yeah,
it kinda circles into the whole
I think
suffering.
so. Yeah. It's
Yeah,
like, no, we appreciate the challenge. We like being salmons that need to go against the. But could you make the current a little bit less strong, maybe, or something? I don't know. Or our legs more strong? I don't know, something.
yeah. No, I get it. But hey, Rebecca, I appreciate you coming
Thank
on the
you.
show. Do you have any final words, tips, pieces of advice, or wisdom you would like to share?
Do I? Yes. Open your eyes and look around you. The world needs you right now. Wherever you are, whoever you are needed. So it's time to use your judgment skills and call out wrong from right.
Cool. Rebecca, thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
Free audio post production by alphonic.com.